Usually I don't come on here and talk in front of the camera because I like my channel to be more or less nothing but action figure reviews, and that's why you guys tune in to see the action figures. But tonight I actually do have a strange action figure, sort of, that I wanted to come on and talk about a little bit before I get into the review. Now, this action figure comes from my all-time favorite animated show, and that is Batman, the animated series. Back in 1992, I was a massive Batman fan, just huge Batman fan. I mean, I collected everything Batman. And with the Tim Burton movie coming out in like around 1989, and I think the second one was like 1992 or something like that, you know, I was still a huge fan even with those films. You know, I was a big fan of those films. And there really wasn't nothing else Batman related after that. And I was really just wanting my Batman fix. So they came out with this Batman animated series, and I was like, wow, I get to watch Batman every day of the week. It was exciting. So I tuned in, and they just nailed it. I mean, it was Batman. It was the Batman that I loved from the movies. It was the Batman I loved from the comics. And what was great about the series is they kind of mixed the two together. They sort of mixed the comics and the movie together. And the coolest thing about the TV series was it was drawn on black paper. And I always thought, I still think that was awesome. So after all these years, they have finally come out with some incredible Batman the Animated Series figures. Now, back in the day, back in 1992, they did come out with some Batman figures, and I do have them all, but they were, you know, okay. And I mean, they kind of looked like the Batman Animated Series, and there was nothing really wrong with them. But then, after all these years, they come out with the 75th anniversary editions of all these figures. Now, the reason I'm doing this whole video in the beginning of this is because apparently, when they released these figures, they came out with weak joints. And everybody who's been opening these figures find that the figures just break instantly, and the shoulders fall off, and the feet fall off, and everything else falls off these figures. So, I finally picked up one, and of course, it's Batman. Now, the very first figures I saw of this line were Two-Face and Mr. Freeze. And I was going to pick those up, but I really wanted to start with Batman. So I found him finally at a comic book store, actually. People who make this, DC Collectibles, said that they're going to re-release these figures with stronger joints so that they don't instantly fall apart when you take them out of package. But my question is, how will you know that they are the new figures compared to the old figures? I mean, I looked at the box when I bought this, and there was absolutely nothing on here indicating if this was a new release with the better joints or an old release. So I had to pick it up because even if this does fall apart, it's still like one of the coolest sculpts I've ever seen from the Batman animated series, and I had to have it. But maybe I will be regretting it. So that's kind of why I came on here to warn you about what's happening with this figure. Now, I've read online that if you take the figure and you dunk him in a bowl of hot water, it will loosen up the joints. So when you take him out and start moving his legs or his knees or his ankles, it won't instantly fall apart. So that's another thing I might try. Once I open this up, and if it feels like it's going to break, I might try that trick and dunk him in some hot water and see if it fixes it. So anyway, I just wanted to get that out of the way before I started the review. So now, let's take a look at Batman, the Animated Series, on its figures. So let's get right into the review here. The packaging of Batman is a little like the Arrow figure that I have, being that it's from the same company, DC Collectibles. As you see, it has a flat side with the word just Batman on it. But the packaging is much larger, and the Arrow figure was a little more difficult to see, being that it was encased within a box. So the openness of this really shows off the figure a lot. What's so awesome about this packaging is it actually has who sculpted the figure. Usually on the back of the figure, it shows the other figures from the line. However, here, it doesn't show anything but a picture. And also like Arrow, this is a very pricey figure at $25. However, it is supposed to be a high-end figure, so I don't really mind paying that price point for something like this. Alright, so let's open up Batman and see if he falls apart. So now we have him outside of the package, and I did check some of the joints, just messing around with them, and so far they don't seem like they are too bad. But I will take a look at them closer in a minute. One thing among the many that I absolutely loved about the TV series was the art style. And here they just nailed it. I mean, this is the Batman from the animated series. I don't say this too often about a sculpt, but this is absolutely perfect. There isn't 1 inch of this figure that's just not incredible. Just like the animated series, he has very little tiny feet, which is, I think, a lot of the people's who are having problems with because of breaking off. But then it goes into more of a thicker base. The same thing with his arms. His upper half are really thick, and then it goes down to these little tiny hands. Just like the sculpt, the paint here is perfect. There is nothing out of place here. So now let's get into the infamous articulation. Okay, so his feet rotate side to side, which is really a cool articulation point where his boots are. And then his feet go up and down. But again, it's such a thin joint here. You should really be careful with it, even if it's not one of the ones that's going to instantly break off. But I can see if somebody really pulls this joint on how it could just fall off. So it's something to be really, really careful with. His legs bend at the knees. And both legs, I believe, bend this way. And I think they bend outwards too. Yes, they do, just like Arrow. I'm being very cautious here because I'm waiting for a leg to fall off. But so far, everything's pretty solid. He bends at the waist, and his arms go in and out, up, and they bend at the elbow, and they rotate. And his hands also rotate and go in and out. And his head just goes back and forth. So far, I've had 0 problems with the joints or the articulation on him. And I think it's really cool, too, that he, with the small feet that he has, he can stand up on his own. It's a great balance of a character. So let's start the accessories with this. This is crazy. And again, this is one of the reasons why the price point of him is so high, because the amount of cool things you get with this figure. This is just his hands alone. I mean, he has different hands for every day of the week. A hand where he is holding his grappling gun, which also, if you look at, it does come apart, which is really cool. He has a relaxed hand, and a hand that he can probably hold another accessory. And he has a left and right version of that hand, and a left and right version of the hands if he wants to strangle somebody. So putting those aside, he also comes with a batarang and a grappling gun on its own, which also comes apart too. Now this is really awesome. He comes with an alternate cape, and this I absolutely love. It's going to look fantastic if I am able to put it on him. To top off all the awesome, he comes with his own personal stand. And on this stand, there's a grip here that you can push in and out to put the figure in. It's just fantastic. And here he is on his stand, which is fantastic, like I said. And I actually managed to pop his head off and put the other cape on. that I actually like 100 times better. This is a really fantastic cape. It's really form-fitting over his shoulders, and it just makes the figure look a whole lot cooler, if that's even possible. I'm not even going to bother bringing up the Figometer or even the scale this time, because you know I've been gushing over this figure ever since I opened up the package, and it's one of my favorite figures I have ever bought. So obviously I'm going to collect every one from the series, even though they are 25 bucks. I mean, this is what I dreamed about having when I was watching the animated series, and now that they've come out with them, yeah, I got to get every one. Like I said, I don't know if DC Direct has already fixed these figures, and if I had gotten a new one with the better joints, or if this was an older one, then I just got lucky on. If there's any way of knowing or indicating the old ones from the new ones, please let me know in the comment box below. If you like this review and would like to see some more, please subscribe so I can see you next time on It Figures.